welcome to Dubai.
Thank you.
Now we are in Dubai Watch Week. Still quite warm outside.
Yes.
And we would like to ask what we get asked a lot by so many of our readers, which is about the carbon hairspray.
Okay.
That was launched at Geneva Watch Days.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about the hairspray in terms of what benefits does it give? And the main question that people keep asking us is, when will it be produced in mass quantities?
Okay. Basically, if we look with hindsight about the history of the hairspring, which clearly has a kind of standard linear existence over the last 3 centuries, there's an acceleration in time in terms of development related to the hairspring. And it's clearly 20 years ago, 22, 23 years ago, the transition from an hairspring which was an alloy made of nickel, titanium, and steel, and very complex combinations of the spring to make it as stable as possible, but it was still made of metal, and as such it was subject to magnetism. Since the 80s, the magnetism is becoming an issue. We are using magnetic field. There are magnetic fields all around the Earth. You can't take the plane. You can go under a security check without being subject to magnetic fields. Your computer is a source of magnetic field. Your phone is a source is creating a magnetic field. Those magnetic fields are impacting the regularity of the action of the hairspring. Okay, and this is impacting. And what happens is that at some point the spirals are touching and are fixing to each other because of magnetism. So this regular frequency that the hairspring should deliver is not regular anymore. You start losing time. Your watch starts losing time most of the time. And this is where you can see an increase in the loss of precision of your watch. It's absolutely vital to have the most precise and stable hairspring. Silicon getting on the market replaced those alloys of metals. The silicon hairspring was developed by 3 major players of the industry: the Swatch Group, Patek Philippe, and Rolex. When you do this, you patent the process. And those 3 players, they did not only patent the process, they did not only patent the hairspring itself, they also patented the way to produce this hairspring. When you do this, a patent protects your innovation for 20 years. So from that moment on, those 3 major players in the industry had this extraordinary advantage, competitive advantage, that made them able to propose more precise watches. From there, you get to the METAS level of precision and resilience, reliability, etc., which has become the ultimate norm that you can find in terms, again, of a quality of timing in the watch industry. At TAG, we didn't have access to this silicon hairspring because it was protected by patents, and something like 11 years ago, the decision was made to find an alternative to silicon. Well, the alternative to silicon was carbon. And so the team, the TAG Heuer lab that here in Dubai we show a little bit of, focused on this development, on working on ways to develop an hairspring made of carbon. 6 years ago, they introduced their very first isograph watch. Unfortunately, it appeared that this first test of this carbon hairspring was working, but the hairspring was subject to influence of humidity, and the humidity would basically transform the carbon structure, and actually would make so much so that actually the precision was not there at the end of the day. So we took the work back. We went back to the workshop. They went back to the workshop. They said, okay, fine, we messed up. And they started working again. They found a way to create a coating and to protect the hairspring. And here we are this year with the upgraded version of this hairspring, which allows us to propose movements and calibers that are not subject to magnetism as far as the hairspring is concerned. We still have some parts in the calibers that are subject to magnetism, but this vital element, central, the heart of the watch now is not subject to magnetism. So it's a major step forward for us. It's a major step forward, and it's a beautiful move because obviously we are the only brand in the market to propose such an innovation. Now, what is interesting with the carbon hairspring compared to the silicon hairspring, on top of this, is carbon is lighter than silicon, much lighter than silicon. Well, much lighter. We're talking about elements that are less than a gram.
Yes.
Okay, but being lighter, it's less subject to gravity, and hairsprings are not only subject to magnetism, but they're also subject to the influence of gravity. And our hairspring is less subject to the influence of gravity. Eventually, it allows us to deliver probably the most stable and reliable caliber in the future.
Mass production? When?
Second question, mass production? Answer, I don't know. Because in innovation and R&D, developing a concept is one thing. Industrializing this concept is another element of innovation. What I can tell you though is next year we will introduce a new caliber that will be developed around this carbon hairspring. Using this carbon hairspring. So it will not be a mass production because it will be a high-end caliber, but this high-end caliber, by essence, by nature, is using this carbon hairspring. So we are moving and we're ramping up the production, starting obviously with higher-end products. But the idea is that we should continue to develop this concept to work around the mastery of carbon, which is an extraordinary material in many, many ways.
During Dubai Watch Week, many new releases. The highlight is the new TAG Heuer split-second chronograph. Can you tell us about that specific model?
Yes. So clearly the idea is that we expose and we accelerate on this element that is key to our identity of philosophy, which is innovation. Okay, there is this innovation towards performance, and this Monaco split-second Air one that we are presenting today is concentrating different levels of innovation. From a movement perspective, it's our split-second caliber that we developed in partnership with Vaucher, which is probably one of the best split-second movements on the market. And we pushed the boundaries of the design of the case, of the Monaco case, and really, and Julien, our head of design, started from the vision of modern GT cars, super GT cars, with those hair structures, those honeycomb structures, the very rigid infrastructure of the cars, allowing to empty as much of the structure of the cars to make them as light as possible while as resistant as possible. And starting from this inspiration, he rebuilt a Monaco case based on this principle. And in doing so, there was a big issue. And the issue was when you try to take out as much material as possible, it's complicated to create the case with normal tools. So we used a new way of production that existed for some time now, but it's used only for prototypes, but we transferred it from prototyping to actual volume production. Small volume production, but volume production. And it's what we call additive manufacturing. Additive manufacturing, in other terms, is actually 3D printing. Now, how does 3D printing works? And that's the fun stuff, the science fiction, the innovative side of things. Where you're actually using powder of titanium, so it's really titanium powder, that you're putting on a form of tray. And through computer design programs, you're using a laser to actually melt this powder into and shape it up into the case. In doing so, you can produce cases and structures that you can't produce with CNC. And we have this one piece titanium structure which is empty, through which you can see through, like those modern cars, intertwined with the honeycomb golden structure to build an extreme contrast between the rough structure of titanium and the polished structure of the honeycomb gold. And so we are actually fusing the innovation of the caliber of our beautiful split-second caliber with the innovation in the case to create this kind of a Monaco prototype. Somebody said it's a Monaco that you send to space and you get it back from the space, and it's really bringing a super modern version of the Monaco, very much inspired by the world of motor racing, which is so close to our identity.
I mean, the case, you really have to see it in real life to appreciate the details.
Yes.
I mean, they have very fine details on the case.
Yes, we like to really, again, the inspiration of cars, those beautiful shapes that are hiding extraordinary engines, and how you can expose the engines. And I love those Ferrari models where you actually have a plexiglass cover of the engine, so that you also see the beauty of the engine. And actually, when you look at the back of our Monaco R1, you see this glass box, which is covering the whole of the back of the watch, which gives you all sorts of angles to really admire the caliber underneath, and even the case itself, the glass itself is a beautiful structure, extremely structured piece. So we really raise our game in terms of the sophistication of our avant-garde horology.
During Dubai Watch Week, you've also announced a new edition of Carrera for the Middle East.
Yes.
Can you tell us about those special editions?
This new limited edition created for the Middle East is actually based on the Carrera glass box. It's actually a watch that we wanted to pose the connection with the Middle East. We have a long history, long connection with the Middle East. Our name partly born from people from the Middle East, because the OJ family brought TAG to Heuer when they purchased Heuer, and so we have a strong anchorage here. And when we do those limited editions, we always try to build something that is somewhat meaningful. So we took this exceptional green color that is so symbolic of the countries, of the region, and we twisted it with the beautiful smoke dial made in our manufacturer in ArteCAD, and to create quite a unique version that I must say I like very much. Because you've got the rough structure of the Carrera with a very subtle dial, which is not necessarily the things we do usually. And I must say the result is, the contrast of the result of the watch is beautiful.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.